You're now listening to the Adiel Gorel Show. Each episode I'll bring you the latest news from my discussions with top health and wellness experts so that you can bring yourself into better health. Today on the Adiel Gorel Show.
Yes. And that is because, not just from a earthy way, but metals can look and say, what didn't work? What do we need to change to make it work? They're looking at the past as a harbinger of the future, but they usually have to hand that to through water, interestingly enough, for the creativity aspect, but to a wood to make it happen in the now. Absolutely.
And once again, he did not have the technical expertise.
No.
He was not an IT guy, really. So
those
quite
would be
fair.
the metals.
But I can see that the water was, he did see things, ahead of everyone else.
Right.
But then he had the capability to go ahead and put it all together.
And let's just say, waters have the ideas, and they may have no idea what they're good for. It's the wood that will say, oh, wow, look at this. This means we could ... So the how to use it and the applicability very frequently sits in the future the wood is seeing.
If we look in Silicon Valley, the personalities there, clearly we already talked about the aspect of wood, the people who get things done, the managers, the putting it all together, the star. And then you seem to have a lot of water, just like Steve Jobs, or many of the creative minds who say, oh, I got an idea. Look at this. Yep. Let's go and disrupt this field. But Silicon Valley is surrounded by a cloud, no pun intended here,
yes,
of metal. I am from Silicon Valley. I worked in Silicon Valley. Right. I saw the personalities. There is a gigantic amount of metal.
Yes. And that is because, not just from a earthy way, but metals can look and say, what didn't work? What do we need to change to make it work? They're looking at the past as a harbinger of the future, but they usually have to hand that to through water, interestingly enough, for the creativity aspect, but to a wood to make it happen in the now.
Well, the typical conflict in Silicon Valley that I've seen is you have the marketing manager wanting to make the product appeal to millions of people, and the engineering department saying, no, that's not possible. It's not going to work. You need to. So that's the wood and the metal, just like you and
Welcome to my marriage. Yes.
Right, exactly.
And yet you need them both. You can't have a wood go out and market something that is impossible to make, even though it meets every need, it checks every box. But you also, a metal person would probably not be nearly as good of being able to articulate how what they've done meets the needs going forward. And they can tell you all the reasons why it's an improvement from the past. But you need that forward thinking and plus the make it happen attitude and energy of woods for it to really reach a market.
So we covered water and wood officially. We talked a lot about metal now. How about we cover metal?
Okay, let's talk about fire. We're going to go to fire. Fire people really like engaging with other people. Whether it's you meet them one time at a party and you never see them again. I mean, every relationship starts with a fire connection. Connecting with people sits in fire. And usually fires are very happy. They laugh a lot. They are fun to be with. Everybody likes being with fires. Even woods, fire consumes wood. So, I don't hang with fires too much, and fire melts metal. So I see so many relationships of fire women, metal men, and it kind of helps the guy relax a little every day. So they like fun. They like parties. They're very inspiring. They're very, very inspiring people. So they're fun to be around. And depending on what elemental personality you are around them in small amounts, or, you can do. Earth people love fire, or can be with fire, 24/7. So that's fire people. Earth is nurturing. It is parenting. It is taking care of something. It is guiding people, family, communities. That kind of thing matters more to Earth than anything else. A side aspect of that is they love food. They are really good chefs usually. They're good cooks. They like cooking. The mother I was telling you about couldn't believe her daughter didn't want to learn how to cook when all her daughter wanted to do was go roller skate with her girlfriends. So they're home. They're great decorators. And it's not just women that are Earths. Master chefs, master decorators, and everybody has a little Earth. Remember, we all have all five. So some people learn to bring that up more when they're dealing with people for whom that will be an important nurturing aspect. And we've talked about metal. So we're precision, being right. Metals love to be right. Those kinds of things really matter to metal people.
So going back to what you said about Earth, they don't have to be women. Especially nowadays, the discussion of male and female is very fraught. And
yes, it is.
But in the Indian tradition, they look, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, they look at the Earth, they call it Gaia. That's
Gaia, yes.
the mother, the feminine.
Yes.
And then they look at the sky, the heavens, and they call it the masculine. So
yes.
I could see that even this one sentence can get trouble in the Me Too age, but there's no value here. Heaven is not better, Earth is not better. It's just different qualities. So the ancient traditions, and you can say that they were out of touch with the times, assigned the Earth to the mother, to that kind of quality.
Yes, and that is so did the Ayurvedics, and so did the ancient Chinese. I mean, Earth energy is nurturing, whether it comes from a male or a female. It is nurturing. I mean, women nurture the child, the unborn child, in their bodies. Men are wonderful chefs and teaching. I mean, every teacher has a great amount of Earth because they care and want to make a difference for somebody. So, and we all have all of it. I mean, I don't walk around all the time looking like an Earth, but when I'm working with a patient, when I'm helping a friend or something, I'm very earthy. And Mark and I both, as I said, learn to relate to each other more out of our Earth than our wood or metal.
Okay, so I mean, this is very great, and now we have a much better sense of those relationships. And I understand what you say, that most relationship could benefit by seeing what the dominant, elements are. If people wanted to get, like, let's say somebody's now in their car listening to us speak, and they say, she just talked about the five, elements and types, and for the life of me, I can't pinpoint it. I know there is a primary, secondary, maybe a tertiary, and a fourth, and a fifth. But I'm here. So if we, this is not meant to be, an ad for your book. We don't have anything like that. We don't. There's no financial gain here, just for the benefit. So I assume the book will be quite helpful in helping us.
There's for people to understand, at least start. Let me just back up and say there's two levels. There's one, what element am I? What's my primary? What's my primary personality? And then what does that mean for me? And what are the personalities of the people that I come in contact with so that I can better understand them? And there's two ways that people can get that information. My book is certainly one of them. And there is a quiz in the back of the book, so you can actually take a quiz and it will help you determine, based on behaviors and attributes, what your primary, secondary, third, fourth, and fifth, how they stack up for you. But also, I have made that quiz available for free on my website. So they can go to drvickimatthews.com and download the quiz, take the quiz. And it's Vicki with an I and Matthews with two T's, and Dr. Vicki Matthews. So they can take the quiz there.
That's very good to know. Now, if somebody is listening to it, they're in a relationship and they say, this sounds intriguing. Maybe this is going to be the, element, no pun intended, that will break the logjam. So I don't feel that I have enough knowledge of this, the person will say, as I will say, because we just learned about it recently, would it be possible to talk to Vicki? I mean, is it possible to talk to you?
It is possible to talk with Vicki. Vicki does consultations. I do Zoom consultations, 1 hour, and I can do it with a person. I can do it with a couple. It's however best I can serve someone and help them.
So let's say that a person is listening to this now. They say, maybe that'll help me again dislodge some of the ossified patterns between me and my partner. I would like to give it a try. I'd like to. What do we need to do to get that that consultation?
They can email me. There's a way to email me from my website. It's Vicki at drVickiMatthews.com, and we could start planning it through email.
Yeah, it sounds quite interesting. Now, it's not to acknowledge or dismiss many other systems of putting us in buckets. The Enneagram puts us in one of 9 buckets. Then they relate to each other. There is the notion about the self-preservation versus sensual, sexual versus social. There are many other systems where we could be grouped. I assume, once again, like with the DNA before, just different words for similar things.
And I think another thing that I like about the 5-element model is, number one, there are only 5 elements. Number two, there's a model, and this is on the back cover of my book, and the first several chapters of my book talk about the dynamics of the model. So I said in nature, water feeds wood. Well, it's the same way with relationships. Water people will feel nurturing to me. My relationships with water people will feel nurturing. My relationships with fire people, because wood feeds fire, will feel nurturing to the fire. A water person relating to a fire person is probably not going to feel very nurturing to that fire person. So the other thing that's so cool about this model is that inherent in it is everything you need to know about relationship tendencies. It's not just personalities and understanding it. It's me knowing that Mark at times will feel like he's raining on my parade. I mean, he's chopping my wood. He's telling me no. But frequently, his no is the right answer. I mean, I'm all caught up in the idea and seeing it in the future and how cool that's going to be. And he's wiser about it. He'll say, no, this isn't the time to do that.
Well, you could even take this example and go down to the relationship between a parent and a younger child.
Absolutely.
So the younger child, if I'm guessing right, will have a lot more natural fire. They just want to play. They just want to be out with their friends. The parent said it's time to go to bed. What? Go to bed? But it really is time to go to bed.
It really is time to go to bed. And what I will tell you is you can tell by the time a child is 2 probably what their elemental personality is. Yes, the fires will be running around and going crazy. There'll be little waters sitting in their bedroom reading. And that's all they want to do is read. They don't want to go out and play in the water. They've already got enough water, so you'll see it. But I think the important piece in all this is there is a fix for everything. It's not like you're doomed to fight. It's not like you're doomed to misunderstand each other if you take the time to understand each other and realize where they're coming from.
So it's not like you should be a consultant to Match.com or something like that and say, okay,
here's what I can
do. Let's include that in the profiles.
What I can do is absolutely tell people the highs and the lows of every relationship. Every relationship will have pluses and minuses. Remember, this model, this 5-element model, is created to keep a whole of anything, whether it's the universe or a person or a relationship, balanced. It's all about balance. So what will happen is we'll go out of balance. When we get stressed, I guarantee you, me stressed is not a pretty picture. This is an out of balance wood, out of control. And that's where Mark coming in and saying, okay, stop, sit down, what's going on? That's his gift to me. Yes, he controls me, in the model anyway, but it's a gift. It's a gift. Fire will burn itself out if something doesn't stop it. So water to fire is a gift. Another thing about a water-fire relationship is water water people, it's the depth of thinking, the depth of study and understanding. Fire is the sun. And the two of them together, fire can experience calm and coolness that they've never experienced. Water will see a brightness and a fun side of life that they've never experienced. So it's not like opposites are a bad thing. Everyone can get along with everyone else if you understand them and see where they're coming from and understand how they relate to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've said it before, but just even on a feeling level, the way you describe the synergy between you and your husband does make me sense or feel that you are stronger together, actually, than separate.
Well said. We are, very much so. Very, very much so.
So
there's so many...
Go ahead, please.
There's just so many things each of us have done that we would probably never have done if we weren't in a relationship together.
That sounds very empowering. I think, again, if you don't mind, I know that to use examples, you need the express, permission of the individual involved. But if you don't have specific cases like these, how about you conjure up an example like this and tell us how you would have treated this or that, just from all the vast amount of combination that you've seen.
Okay. One of the more interesting, and my book is full of them. I've got hundreds of examples in my book of this relationship. I've got little sections called case corners, and here's they came to me with this, and here's what we did, and here's how we fixed it, and that kind of stuff. So, and the other thing that my book has is when you are not in balance, it has what are called quick tips, quick things you can do, a tea you can drink, a stone you can hold, things like that, to bring your primary element back into balance so that you're much more your functional self. So hold
on. I just want to make sure the words were registered correctly. You say drink tea. You said drink tea.
Yes.
Hold the stone. Hold the stone.
Hold a stone.
Hold the stone.
Everything. No, we're not eating or drinking stones. No, sweetie. We are holding. We're bringing to our skin. Stones have vibrations, and different stones balance different elements. So there's, again, dozens of ideas in the book of ways to help when your primary is out of balance.
Okay, so let's go with a couple of examples. Whether you are conjuring them up as a mosaic or you have real people, I don't mind. Just to highlight more what it's like so we get a better understanding.
Okay, so I'm going to go to a group of people that I did work with, a family, and there was a daughter who was, very much a fire personality, and somehow she was born into a family of woods. And woods like order. We like things. We like seeing this is what we're going to do, and it unfolds the way it's supposed to. And her fire is spontaneity. Fire is spontaneity. So she was like literally, oh, let's do this. Oh, let's go here. Oh, let's do that. And she had a brother that was, I think, maybe only just 2 years older than she was. It drove him crazy. They fought like cats and dogs. And I remember the mother coming to me saying, I don't know what to do with them. Do I send one of them away to school? What do I do? It's taking the whole family down. And in fairness to the mom, she's not the fire, she's the wood. She saw the problem as the daughter. And what we did is we worked with the whole family dynamic, and that the fire, she needed the input from the family. She needed the energy of the family. And honestly, the wisdom of a fire is something that a wood never gets. The joy of a fire. We don't go there, but we can warm ourselves as human beings on the positive, loving energy of a fire personality. And once they stopped looking at it as a negative and saw that positive, and also I will say, as she grew a little older, she was a little easier to control, it changed how the whole family related to each other. And it ended up being a very positive experience for all of them. And it started with the understanding.
That's
I also have had other cases where there was a father-son dynamic as the son hit more like teen years. And the son was very bitter that his dad hadn't been home a lot and was working really hard. And he didn't understand because, and again, this is interesting, the son was a metal, but metals look at, this is the way it should be. This is right, this is wrong. End of discussion. And in his mind, it was right for the dad to spend time with him. He was the dad, he was the son. Where is my father-son time? The dad was working really hard to provide for the family. And once it didn't take more than a couple sessions. The dad got that he was trying so hard to provide for the family, he was missing out on some of the family. And the son got that the dad was really, really doing the best he could, and maybe there were ways the son could help him. So we just sort of we helped them understand, and we started changing the dynamic. And that made a huge difference and really helped a lot.
That's quite interesting. I mean, I'm thinking about the frictions that we encountered during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And it seems like there were several large traits and influences. One was, this is how it is, and don't you try to tell me there's anything else.
Right.
Which was very new. I mean, normally science was, you're a scientist in Sweden, you have research. I'm a scientist in France. My research shows the opposite. We talk about it freely.
Right.
That was not there. There was a hand that was almost tyrannical guiding the whole thing. And then people were shut down, but there were people who were still researching, and people this and vaccinated and unvaccinated this. How do you see all of that turmoil, which now has relaxed quite a bit? Funnily, now many of these factions have come pretty much to the same place. But
yes.
How do you see it through that lens?
I see that through the lens of the people who were standing up saying, we have to do it this way. We can't do it any other way. This is the right way, or we're going to all go to hell. You know, I mean, this is it. This is the way to keep us all safe, or that we have to do whatever. Those are Woods. Woods are leaders. Woods take a responsibility for everything that happens, anything that they have something to do with, that it's right, that it's best, that it's good for the people that they are managing or ruling or, representing, whatever role they're in. What takes a Wood personality down quicker than anything else is chaos. And COVID was chaos. And so you saw a lot of really manic, flipped out Wood people trying to do 6 different things at once to try and protect people or make right decisions for people. But what was always knocking at their door was the concept of chaos. And that panics a Wood faster than anything else.
Oh, I see. So from that standpoint, when there was a narrative, finally there was a narrative, you should do this. And here's an idiot who comes with a counter narrative. It's like, what? Leave this misinformation out. Because, I mean, it's like, it's even more disruption. It's more chaos.
Well, and in the very beginning of COVID, there wasn't enough information to know what was right or what was the best or what was optimal. And those are aspects that Woods usually lead with, is the knowledge that this is the best, this is going to make it's the smartest, it's the right choice, and then can make a difference. There was none of that available, or there were countering ideas, and a lack of clarity and countering ideas for a Wood who is supposed to be seeing the future and helping us get there, it was chaotic, and it was almost like it short-circuited a lot of our Wood leaders for a while, because they didn't know which information to trust, which was right, which was the best thing to do for people. And once that initial panic around it settled down and it became clear, here's what seems to be working, then they could settle down and say, okay, here's what seems to be working. Let's move in this direction. But the chaos is a bad thing for Wood.
But isn't it a little bit of a metal, element, in the sense that even after it settled down a little bit, and the researcher from Japan has a study that shows something different. No, don't publish it, don't show. Isn't that a little metal? Is my way or the highway?
It depends on what it impacts. Metal absolutely needs to be appreciated. Metal needs to have their wisdom validated. So that is absolutely 100% correct. But it depends what you're doing with that information. You can validate the information and say, yep, that's another good way to go, but right now we're doing this. Because to stop everybody after we've said this is the optimal way would create chaos again, using COVID as an example, with the people that are trusting us to have wisdom for them. So I think if you understand a metal personality, you don't say, no, forget it, we're not interested. You say, wow, this is really good. This makes sense. And yet it's not markedly different than what we're doing now. We have told the people to do this now. We've offered this as the current best knowledge. Keep what you're doing, keep exploring it, and keep us posted.
That wasn't the message that was brought out. The message was much more.
Should have been.
Should have. But even the little that you discuss this makes, I think, us all more able to look at the situation with more compassion and understanding, both of the leadership, with all of their faults and stumbles,
yes,
and the opposition with all of their. It's interesting how, even in this context, already just thinking about it from this framework, at least the way I think about it, kind of makes it all diffuse and not so strong. And
it's important to remember that very few people in the world get up in the morning and say, how can I screw people over? They get up with their filters, the filter of a water or wood personality, an earth personality. That filter will color what they think makes sense, what they choose to do, how they choose to do it. And so many times, I will look at things that Mark does, and it's the end result is fantastic. It's like, wow, I would never have approached it that way. I would never have thought of that, or I would have done it this way. And I just step aside and honor that it was his metal chose to do it, and that's the way it came down, and that was fine. It's not, we don't, even though sometimes woods feel like they always need to be right, they really don't. We don't all need to be right at all. It's understanding each other. And as you said, compassion's a great word. We are how we're wired. That's it.
So it occurs to me as you speak that, going back to the thing you just said about hardly anybody really wakes up in the morning and say, how am I going to screw people over? And also, if you go back, I would assume we were all born pretty much as little babies who are pure, a clean slate of joy, or at least maybe not 100%, maybe 99.9, whatever. And then things happen that influence us. Again, the word compassion really is important because
it's compassion and understanding. Can you imagine what it's like for a little fire child to be raised by a water? It would be any enthusiasm would constantly be poo-pooed or put out, or so that I think for parents more than anything, it's how you raise that child, how you honor who they are, how they're wired, what matters to them. Don't tell them to go play hopscotch if they're a fire. They need friends. They need people to be with and to connect with. Don't tell an earth they're banned from the kitchen for a month because they burned something. If we understand, and whether you're talking about your children, whether you're talking about your coworkers, whether you're talking about your boss, it's that understanding that really, if you come from a good place, will make you better at relating to anybody.
Yeah. Now, of course, we talked a lot about relationships, as in romantic relationships, but I would assume it's exactly the same for friend relationship, for co-worker and business
corporate relationships. And a good example in corporates is, my husband works in corporate. I worked in corporate for a while. If you understand what you need from a position, hire the right person. If you need someone at the front desk that is engaging and happy and meets people, hire a fire personality. Don't hire a water. Don't hire a metal. Hire someone that their personality style will help them excel at what you want them to do. If you need someone to invent the next best way to do something, hire a metal. Possibly a wood. But metals have seen everything. They know what works. They know what doesn't work. And you might have available to them a water to talk to about, like, how could we do this? What would we do this? And sometimes waters who are very philosophic, very visionary, very big picture, but don't have a clue usually, unless they've got a lot of metal, how to make it happen. Those are great partnerships. I've seen several partnerships where a water metal, they appreciate what each other brings, and there's no stopping them.
Well, we see it in Silicon Valley. Some of the big Silicon Valley companies like Google actually hire and have a consultant whose job is to just be a free thinker, sit around and think about crazy stuff, share it with us, and we will choose some of the stuff. But just your job, that sounds like a classic water, right? Job.
It is a classic water. And you don't want anybody but a water, because water is limitless. You don't want someone to say we could do it, but we'd have to change this, this, and this. Those are going to be your woods and metals. You want someone to dream. Imagination, dreaming, big thinking, all that type of stuff. That's water. That's water. Let it go. So they do hire a lot of people like that.
This is very fascinating. I know we just kind of covered maybe the tip of the iceberg, but I can see, and I'm sure that our viewers and listeners can see and hear, this could be extremely useful. Vicki, thank you so much for being on our show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.
I hope so. Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Thank you for joining me today for the second part of our amazing interview. If you didn't catch part 1, don't miss out. The link is in the description below for you. And be sure to click the subscribe button for more videos.